This is probably the answer that people don't want to hear. Over the last few years, I've really likened it to how people perceive conspiracy theories. It's with Pokemon in particular, it's not some like crazy guy from the top down that hates this and wants to make so much money. It's really just a lot of like boring, bureaucratic, like garbage. That is the biggest thing right now because we have like next to no information on this game. I genuinely think that from what I know and from what I can gather, this game is gonna like break people's brains when we first see gameplay footage of it, and not necessarily in a good way or a bad way. We'll have to wait and see. But I think
Wait and see.
the wait is gonna kill people because we haven't seen anything from this game yet. It's not like Legends
Nothing.
where we saw like a tiny bit. So it's gonna be really fascinating to see the response to it.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Skilling Podcast, where we chat and get to know passionate content creators, competitive players, and all voices who continue to make the Pokemon community incredible. Today's guest is an expert on Pokemon's production with a speciality and emphasis when it comes to their main developers at Game Freak. He's also an archivist and historian on the series. It's our friend, Lewis, but you may know him as Lewtwo. How's it going, my friend?
Hey everyone, thanks for the nice intro. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm excited to talk about Pokemon's production. All the work that goes into it, all the work that goes into how we archive stuff. It's a lot, but I'm excited to get into it.
Love it. That's amazing.
We're so excited, dude. I think this work is like I don't know. It's one of the special corners of the Pokemon community that I feel like a lot of times we underappreciate. Because you're like you guys like you and like anybody who does archiving like makes sure that we can like preserve our memories as kids, make sure that we have the accurate information or accurate things from beforehand of old games, old generations, things that could have been lost forever. And like I know like I've watched like that did you know gaming stuff, and I feel like without archiving, like they wouldn't have a lot of the information that they do because they discover a lot of stuff, or they reach out to people who have been archiving. And so I just really just want to say I shout out your efforts, I shout out your work, and we're just really excited to kind of get into what you do and your passion for it. But before we kind of get into your content side of things, I did want to ask, just outside of Pokemon, what interests and hobbies take up your time?
Outside of Pokemon, obviously I love games. I don't really get the chance to play many of them anymore. The only game that I play consistently is Melee, and I've been doing that for about 10 years this year. Jesus, that's way too long. Yeah, since a lot of my time is devoted to work, it's just spending time with friends, working out, just
Awesome.
just trying to keep myself afloat while I have a lot of busy stuff to do. That's on top of just like doing like personal editing work for friends and like clients alike.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome.
Do you do all the editing, or did you do all the editing for your own videos?
Yes. So I'm trying to think if there's any time that I've like outsourced any part of my videos. I don't think I have. It's all been
That's impressive.
me for the last 10 or so
Wow.
years, which is
that's impressive.
Yeah, no, I've built myself up. It's nice to know that I don't have to rely on people, but now it's starting to get to the point where it's like I really need help with some of these things. So I have to I'm learning how to draw. I'm learning Japanese as well, and both of those are obviously personal, but they're funneling into
time-consuming
work and videos stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. I mean, especially as novices in the space of editing and learning all that, I think it's a very, very impressive skill. And just watching what you've done, you definitely got a real talent for that. And definitely got to shout out Melee as well. We're both big Smash fans as well. So I'm always down for some Melee content and some Melee chatting. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta ask, who's your main in Melee? Like, who have you been playing, or have you switched it up over the years?
Oh my god, I've gone through every single top tier in that game. I want to say, see, it's like for like the first half of it, I was like solidly a Moth main, and then I'm like kind of Moth Falco. But over the last like 2 months, I've been playing a lot of Fox. This game changes way too much. I will never stop playing this game. It's so good.
It's so fun.
It's so fun, dude. What I remember I was in I was in a college class a couple years back, and we had to make a website. Um and I remember I found like a Melee documentary on some of the big ones. Like it was just the history of how Melee became like competitive in its sphere and stuff like that. But like it's still evolving as a game too. Like I mean, I think I remember, was it Yoshi that won like a big tournament like a while back or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think
can't remember.
AMSA won Big House 2023, I want to say. I
Yeah.
don't keep up
Yeah.
with Melee as a competitive game that much anymore. I'm just like tacitly
It's
aware
just
of it,
fun.
but yeah,
Yeah,
I
same.
still play it, so.
Yeah,
That's so
that's
fun.
awesome. And so that's one of the fun things I think is that that's a very very dedicated and and tight knit community too, where they are working on making sure that that game is preserved as the special and like incredible game that it is. And so I love that. I love the shout out there. So
There,
that's
I
awesome.
guess I could say there's some fun some fun custom mods and custom stage. I think you reposted it
Yeah.
actually, the two, but there's one where a stage of, I can't remember what it's a skin of, but they're fighting outside of a Waffle House, like in a Waffle House parking lot.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
that
yeah,
Mario combo video is so good.
it's
Hold on, I
so
need to like
good.
rewatch
Oh
it
man.
again.
It's yeah, it's just compilation of Mario just putting in work on everyone.
Yeah,
Um
Yeah.
no,
and yeah,
I did
one
not
of the
know that
custom
guy
maps is
before
that.
then, and I was just it's crazy.
That's amazing though. Um So now, asking you a little bit more about your Pokemon journey. Did you play the games growing up? Did you watch the anime? Did you collect cards? What did that journey look like that got you into the Pokemon franchise?
So it's really weird. I feel like I kind of have an odd, not like an odd upbringing when it comes to Pokemon, but like I got into it when I was what, like 9, and I am 24 now, so that was 2009. And my first game in the
Mm,
series was Pearl, and that is like probably
nice.
the worst game
Okay.
in the series, but it's totally fine. And I started playing the games with Pearl. I started watching the anime and like buying cards at the same time, and then I immediately
Mm,
dropped off the latter two because I stopped caring. And I've really
right.
only cared about the games for the most part ever since. I had like two big breaks, like right before XY and right around Ultra Sun and Moon. But ever since Usum, I started doing like a lot more Pokemon content, and it took over my life, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, as it tends to do.
Yeah,
That's
there's
awesome.
a lot. Okay, it's so much.
Uh, that's amazing. Yeah, yeah, one of my so my first game was Gen 3 primarily, but I distinctly remember getting Diamond and Pearl with my brother when that came out. And nostalgia goggles aside,
Mhm.
there's a lot there. I'd say there's a reason why Platinum is a much better and fleshed out and beloved game overall compared to
Yeah,
base Diamond and Pearl. There's a
For sure.
there's a lot of quirks with the base Diamond and Pearl games that I'm glad Platinum did a fairly good job at rectifying. But um,
fixing.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's cool. That was your entry into the series and everything. It's a lot of, like I said, a lot of nostalgia with Gen 4, definitely.
Mhm.
That's cool.
It definitely feels
I
like
feel
that era of game where I was talking about this with a friend yesterday, but Gen 3 feels like the end of an era in like a very strange way. So
Yeah,
I kind of got,
yeah,
hmm
you know what? Maybe other people think that. Maybe Pokemon truly ended in Gen 6 for some people. It's definitely the case.
yeah.
Yeah. That's like a really interesting point. And it's just like, because like I know for me, because so I had some older siblings, so I kind of got started like in Gen 1, Gen 2, and then Gen 3, and then I actually fell off after that. Like I mean, I still love the games and things like that, but I just never got like a Diamond game. I got the remakes of Heart Gold and Soul Silver,
Mhm.
but like I like it's like I think it's interesting how we do all have our eras. But since like since like my teenage years and things like that, I've gone back and played a few of these games, and it really is special. It's just like it's fun to see how kind of, I don't know, like a Nintendo or not Nintendo, Game Freak I should say, kind of establishes these sort of like, I don't know, different vibes with each of the games and each of the the generational kind of changes as you know the world changes. Pokemon like adapts somewhat, and gets a unique feel for each series, for each game. So it's kind of fun that way, and kind of see how that grows and how everybody experiences it differently. I
Yeah,
love
for
that.
sure. The word "somewhat" is doing some heavy leaning because some people would argue that Pokemon is not adapted, but
Yeah.
yeah, I do like that. Even if I do have certain issues with certain games, everything feels different. And
Yes.
Mhm.
yeah, it's deeply fascinating in a world where we have like so many sequels on so many games, and that's slightly iterative.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's true. It's true. Kind of now getting into like your content and your side of the YouTube sphere. We're curious. So, how did you get started? Into archiving and into your passion for the game production and things like that. And where would you say that you got your expertise and your passion for this?
So it's I would say when it comes to YouTube, I've been doing that for a long time.
Mhm.
With
Hmm.
archival in particular, um, I was working on a video in late 2022, and I realized that there wasn't one good place of Pokemon assets. Every source was like really poorly vetted. It had a lot of glaring inconsistencies, and it lacked most things. So I was like, okay, I'll just put a Google Drive together of all my stuff and just throw that out into the void. And people were like, hey, this is a really cool idea. And then it became me getting every Pokemon asset ever, and it was the worst decision I've ever made. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's wild. But yeah, it's ever since like myself and a team of volunteers have been uncovering and documenting so much like content, old and new, because there's so much new stuff that comes out.
The
It's
Yes.
incredibly difficult to keep up with. Um, yeah, and when it comes to like production, I've always been really, really interested in animation and how production of particular shows kind of play out. For a while before I started doing a lot more Pokemon content,
Mhm.
I was super close with a lot of the staff on Dragon Ball in particular and a lot of Toei productions. I was
Okay.
like, hey,
really
I can try and extend that to the Pokemon anime and OLM. And then I was like, why don't I just research into the games a lot as well? So then I uh, kind of get used to that, talk to the staff of the games, that sort of thing, and then I build this like compendium of knowledge. I guess
That's amazing.
that's so cool.
it's very
That's
surreal
awesome.
to just meet a lot of these people, and it's like it's not like I'm super close friends with a lot of them, but it's just so nice to be able to talk about things casually with the people that make the things that you both grew up with and also like still really respect.
That's really cool. That's like a super interesting opportunity, and like I like how you adapted that to kind of also a personal another franchise that you love too. That's really really cool. I like that.
Yeah, especially with Pokemon, just going back through some of the video essays you've done,
Hmm.
it's very bingeable content. Like it's timeless. Even if some videos are a couple years old, you can go back and really get pretty fairly caught up on the message you're trying to transmit. And
Mhm.
I mean, it's the whole point of archiving something, right? It's supposed to be timeless. It's supposed to be something that you can go back to and refer to, and get a fairly good insight on what was happening and why they did that. So, and especially with Pokemon, I mean, I'm a total. I mean, that's why we're doing that's why we're doing this podcast. I'm a total geek for this kind of thing. So it's really cool to look at some of these things. And I mean, specifically with some of the things you've talked about, and with with Game Freak's development, it's pretty safe to say that the last few years of Pokemon releases have been divisive and controversial. Some love, some hate everything from Sword and Shield to BDSP to Scarlet and Violet being the most recent release. I know Legends Arceus was pretty fairly um, well
Mhm.
received by a lot of people because pretty fresh take on things. But now that we're a few years removed from some of these recent games, what are your feelings now that things have kind of marinated for a little bit?
Yeah, so I tweeted about this yesterday, but the Pokedex cut was exactly 5 years ago as of yesterday, or when they
That's
announced it,
crazy.
and
Yeah.
Wow.
it's so fascinating to have been here and to have like witnessed all of it kind of. So what I've noticed is that people have had criticisms with Pokemon way before that. The problem, or no, I shouldn't say problem. The thing is that has now like gone into the mainstream, and these
Mhm.
criticisms have like hit a far wider audience for whatever reason, and that is why we've kind of seen all of that. I don't think that any of the new games are unique in their problems. As I said, I think Diamond and Pearl before BDSP were the worst games in the series.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and now we kind of live in an era where people are talking about Pokemon critically instead of just acknowledging that they exist, and that's really nice. Even if I don't agree with a lot of the opinions that people have, it's nice that people are finally talking about the people that make these games. Like people can now recognize individual artists, which was never really a thing before I started doing stuff. Not to say that I mean maybe I did help with that. My goal is to kind of spread production and talk about all of these things to the point where people that do find themselves interested in it or don't even realize that they're interested in it can understand it better, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So it's definitely nice to finally see.
That's super cool. Yeah, no, that's great. And I think like one of the things that you mentioned in there is that it's really fun to kind of see how this evolves as a community, and then also how kind of this commentary it's not necessarily, and because I think a lot of time we think, oh, these are new issues, new things that have always that have never happened before, and so sometimes it can get it could feel like it's a lot bigger than it is, but like you said, these are issues that have probably been going on for years and years and years, but now it's just kind of coming into the mainstream, and so and because I think internet things like that as well have also changed the scene on this kind of discussion.
Yeah.
I kind of had a follow-up question as well to this. So how do you kind of go about like when you're preparing for like a video essay or something, like a topic you want to talk about? How do you go about preparing for that? Like what are you looking for in terms of preparation? What are you looking for in terms of you know uh assets to kind of use to kind of chat about or kind of look deeper into your subject? I'm just kind of curious because like you have a lot of really interesting topics that are like just like the terrifying pace of modern Pokemon, the future of Pokemon. I'm just kind of curious like how you go about kind of preparing for these videos and figuring out what you want to say in them.
Yeah, so from I guess to start with, it's like I want to find something that I'm passionate about, and as of late, I haven't uploaded for the last 2 years because I'm still trying to figure out a lot of stuff.
Right.
Is I really want to. What I've realized is for a long time I was focused on making my videos better and better, but then I kind of hit like a weird ceiling where it's like people just kind of watch my stuff anyway. Not to say that they're perfect, but it's like okay, now I want to try and make each video, I guess, like individual. So I'm going to put like every video from this point onwards has like a very considered aesthetic, and I want to build like a theming around it. It's like it's very hard to say because I haven't put anything out on that front in the last couple of years, mostly because of the archive and being busy with that.
Right.
But yeah, it's really just like a lot of note taking, a lot of scripting, a lot of asking staff on the series. For the second BDSP video I did, I remember I was going insane. I went through like 100 different Facebook profiles, just like trying to understand like who is even talking about this game that works on the series. Like the research period is like super involved, and I have so many notes and so many things. I like I've been using Obsidian to like try and get all my thoughts together, and I have so many thoughts. It's really really hard to like link it all together. But
Right.
yeah, then there's just like the scripting process, the recording process, and then editing and making that all come together, I suppose.
Yeah.
I love it. I like have a mental image of like a whiteboard in like your office, like it's like in the the show, like the detective shows where like all the things are
Stuff is linked
connecting.
together.
It
Yeah.
does feel like that. It really does.
I
It's
love that so
amazing.
much.
Yeah, it really is
So
such an expansive topic. So whenever you're doing like historical stuff, you don't want to leave anything out because you're trying to capture the full context of whatever it is you're talking about.
Mhm.
And yeah, you don't want to leave that out. So it's kind of a whole you don't want to leave any stone unturned when you're going about researching all of this. So I totally get why it's a pretty labor intensive, especially mentally, to knock something out like this. Um,
And
but yeah, we're
it's really hard as well to add because like
yeah
one thing that I've noticed with a lot of video essayists on YouTube is they will belabor a point so much and the videos will be like 50 minutes long. I try and talk
yeah,
very quickly. I try and make everything as concise, and uh I try and use editing to maximize the amount of stuff that I can talk about in such little time, and then I want to make it
right
like visually interesting. Because on the face of it, if you were to go up to a random person on the street and it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna talk at you for 14 minutes, or however long, about how a video game is made. They would just not care. It's just like the
Okay.
most boring brain dead topic. But the
Yeah.
idea is that, like one of the rare things I was taught at school for design, it's like you want to try and make things that were, like ordinary or like incredibly boring. Like you want to make that interesting. That's kind of like the end goal. And
Yeah.
again, like a lot of video essayists are like, hey, I'm gonna drill down super hard into this point, but there are just ways to get around that, and there are ways to just try and be as clear as possible and as quick as possible, and that's ideally what I want to maximize
sure.
in the future.
For sure.
That's
that makes
really
sense.
cool. I love that.
And I guess one quick question is, as far as to kind of summarize for people who are listening who maybe haven't caught up with your content, kind of digging back into your niche and what you cover with Game Freak. What if you had to summarize what you would say the root issues are with recent efforts? How would you say things are going, or what has been like? What are some of the main things you found as you've gone about your research and archiving things, and why you think, to a degree, things have kind of gone off the tracks a little bit?
So this is probably the answer that people don't want to hear. Over the last few years, I've really likened it to how people perceive conspiracy theories, where
Ooh.
you will have like say something, you have this like conspiracy theory about like the flat earth, and this is my favorite example to go to, because it's like, oh, I'm gonna build out this like mind map of all this like crazy shit that's happening, and like this is actually being censored by these people, and this is why this is happening. And the unfortunate reality is that everything is way more boring than that. It's with Pokemon in particular, it's not some like crazy guy from the top down that hates this and wants to make so much money. It's really just a lot of like boring, like bureaucratic, like garbage that is just not that interesting. And it's like, oh, these people worked on this before, so they're probably gonna do this. This is the director of this game. This is what he's worked on before, so it's probably gonna look like this. It's a lot of that, and it's fun to like try and speculate. Like, hey, like one thing I've seen going around a lot recently is that Game Freak were responsible for BDSP being bad because they had like a top-down mandate to make Legends Arceus sell better, so they intentionally made BDSP worse. And then like you dig into the game, and it's like Game Freak supplied them with all the DP source code. Like, why would they do? Like, there are so many things that don't add up when you have all these things, and the reality is that people just make mistakes. Time is also a really huge factor. It's probably the biggest factor with Pokemon development. Which is why I'm so happy about ZA. But yeah, it's in reality, it's just a lot more boring than a lot of what people tried to sell you, especially when Sword and Shield was coming out.
Right.
That's interesting.
I'm glad you mentioned ZA, because I feel like that is something that pretty universally across the board, at least a lot of people we've talked to and touched with, are very excited for. So I was going to ask, because we don't have a major game release for this year. So does that make you more optimistic for ZA, any potential Gen 5 remake? And of course, I'm assuming you get Gen 10 sometime in the next couple of years as well. Does that make you optimistic for that? Or what would you like to see sort of more of a, at least to a degree, a return to form for Pokemon?
So I don't think it's a coincidence that my favorite game in the series is Black and White. And that's
There
for
you
a
go.
variety of reasons. I love Unova, I love Gen 5.
Yeah.
But the reason for that is possibly because Black and White had 4 years of development. It is the longest development cycle for a game in the series.
Oh.
That's so cool.
Heart Gold had 3 years, and that is like unheard of for a remake or like a secondary like game in the series that isn't the first game of a major generation.
Yeah, it's
all
crazy.
This is to say is that ZA is having at least 3 years. If it comes out the end of 2025, that is over 4 years, if we're to assume that it began when Legends development ended, which was the end of 2021.
That's so cool.
That is the biggest thing right now, because we have like next no information on this game. I genuinely think that from what I know and from what I can gather, this game is gonna like break people's brains when we first see gameplay footage of it, and not necessarily in a good way or a bad way. We'll have to wait and see. But I think the wait is gonna kill people, because we haven't seen anything from this game yet. It's not like Legends, where we saw like a tiny bit. So it's gonna be really fascinating to see the response to it.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's like some general idea for when in 2025, but I don't think we have anything quite yet. But Yeah, assuming, like you said, assuming it's late 2025, then that would be a pretty good amount of
Yeah.
time in
Yeah.
development. But yeah,
Mhm.
other than the teaser and the return to Kalos, Lumio City, Megas, that's pretty much all we have, and that it's a
Yeah.
Legends game. So I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that could be literally anything, okay? Because a
right?
lot of the things in Legends Arceus are facilitated by that time period. We don't even know what the time period is for this game. So all the
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
mechanics could be completely different. We have no idea.
Crazy.
It's
Very
gonna be so
excited
cool to
though.
kind of see how that all develops and how it all like just and I don't know, like, and a lot of times, like, we get, spoilers and things like not spoilers, but leakers, like, who kinda give us information, but I actually feel like that I mean, and maybe I could just be missing the videos, but I feel like I haven't even seen too many, like, either solid leaks or positive leaks on this game, like, I feel like Game Freak is keeping this one pretty much on, like, a very tighter lock than they have in the past as well, so it's exciting to see, what the possibilities could be with ZA and what they could be focusing on and even possibly changing up.
For
So that'll
sure.
be really, really cool. We also are curious because so in your video series and things like that, you in our conversation a little bit, you briefly touched on the anime and how it kind of flourished, in recent years, primarily because Game Freak doesn't spearhead those efforts. We're kind of we kind of think that we may be in the golden age of Pokemon content right now. We have so much from Gotcha to the Gale to the Twilight Wings to Poketunes, and we've gotten plenty of quality animation and things from people who are passionate about Pokemon and want to represent how beautiful and novel it is. It's just the content that we're getting from everyone but Game Freak. So we're kind of curious, even Sun and Moon brought like kind of simplified designs in the animation style, and we shouldn't discount some of the absolutely incredible animation that came out of X and Y. We're kind of curious, what are your overall thoughts on like the direction of the anime versus the games, and kind of like the different kind of content that we're getting that and just kind of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so relative to the games, I think the anime has always been in a weird position because I say this as somebody that doesn't ever really care about the story content of the anime. It is a
Mhm.
serialized 10 million episode long thing for kids. That
Yeah.
is what
Yeah.
it has been, and it's what it will always be. And I personally, I think it's fine to expect more than that, but personally, I don't. Uh, when it comes to animation, there's been a lot of shuffling around at OLM. They have opened so many I think they moved into a new building recently. There's
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
there's a lot of not difficulties, but there's just a lot going on with OLM who primarily work on the main series.
Hmm.
There was a period towards the end of Journeys where you could feel or the Gen 8 series, where production was really falling apart. They had
Hmm.
to take that kind of 12 episode Ash series to refocus, figure out what they want to do. But yeah, I don't know. Horizons has been fine. There are some really stellar looking episodes. It's just kind of what you would expect from a weekly series where it's like, hey, you get one really, really good episode, and then the next 5 or 6 weeks are just kind of whatever, not really, you don't really talk about them. One Piece has been like this for God knows how long. When it comes to the smaller stuff like Twilight Wings, Paldean Winds, Gotcha, like these are all outsourced. These are all done by different studios. We haven't seen any Pokemon movies since the Zarude movie,
Yeah.
That's
which
true.
probably because of COVID. So I have no idea what OLM is trying to do in regards to movies. Maybe they're just scaling them back so the anime can be more consistent. Who knows? Movies are the only thing that's really up in the air, though. I think everything is just they just have so many talented staff that just love working on Pokemon. They just love the art and the designs of the series.
Yeah. There's
Agreed.
a there's a lot that they do on the like just shorts on the YouTube channel as well, the official Pokemon YouTube
Hmm.
channel
Mhm.
that I've really enjoyed. What's the one, I can't remember the name of it for Scarlet and Violet that they've just recently done. It's Paldean
Paldean Winds.
Winds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Paldean Winds. Looks really nice. Like the animation style um looks amazing. And obviously, I mean, one of my favorite things from the last several years is the Generations shorts that they did back in, I want to say,
Yeah,
2016.
we're good.
Mm.
Um just like, short little mini stories or just clips from each generation over the years, and I thought those look really nice as well. So yeah, we were curious to ask you on the anime front because obviously that's like you said, things are handled differently, and especially I mean it's been a couple of years since you've tackled some of these things, and now I think we're kind of really getting out of how things were during COVID and how that affected things. I think we're kind of finally getting back to people being able to just conduct business essentially as they did beforehand. So
Yeah,
um,
for sure. It ever since COVID, it has felt a little nonstop. Like
yeah,
Twilight Wings, Poketoon, Evolutions, Hisuian Snow, Paldean Winds, and then there was also Concierge on Netflix. Like none of these productions really overlap or clash with each other.
yeah,
Mhm.
There was the Ed Sheeran music video, which has like a crazy animated sequence at the end. There's been a bunch
yeah,
of
Yeah.
3D stuff that they've been doing. It's so varied, and yeah, we are like absolutely 100% in the golden age for Pokemon animation. I wish that we
there's a
would get Sun
lot.
and Moon
Yeah,
again. I wish that we would get Sun and Moon again because that series looks insane. But
yeah,
uh, yeah, I don't think Pokemon will ever be like this good again. In terms of animation for a long time if it
yeah,
stops.
for sure. I think they started to level up around. Can't believe it's been pretty much a decade, but since like I think the XY series looks really nice as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That
I
was
think
when
that's
they
what.
started getting more like freelancers on the
Yep.
series.
Yeah.
The only person that like I love Masaki Iwane, but the fact that he practically had to carry everything from the first episode to like the end of Black and White on his back. It's
Bless his
crazy.
soul.
Like
Bless you.
you go to Sakugaburu and there's like 2,000 cuts to the anime and it's all him. It's like yeah, it's what
Crazy.
makes his style like so recognizable. So
Right. Right.
Mhm.
That's crazy. Um.
I
Well,
love it.
cool. Yeah. Yeah. So we wanted to kind of do a fun little we like to dive into the content, get to know you a little bit, but we also have kind of a rapid fire section and then a section where we do some shower thoughts, which are like not necessarily anything to do with your content, but just kind of some deep questions about the Pokemon universe that we want to kind of get your fun insights on. So no right or wrong answers on any of these, but we got a couple rapid fire questions we want to fire at you. So
mhm.
I'll let Logan take the first one here.
All right. Our first one for you is your favorite game to replay.
That's so hard for me. Because like my favorite games are like Black and White 2, HGSX,
Right.
Platinum, Legends, Ultra Sun and Moon, but my I've played so much Hoenn recently. I don't know
There you
why.
go.
I've played I've played Emerald in the last like year. I've played Emerald twice, Alpha Sapphire, Ruby, and Sapphire. Like I've played these games like five, six
Wow.
times. I have no idea why. I think it's just a really replayable game. So I would
Yeah.
probably say that.
I love
I
it.
like
I
it.
love it.
That's
I
cool.
think Cohen is very. I think that's probably the one I played um play the most of as well. So I always wonder. I don't know if it's a nostalgia thing or if it's just like it's just really replayable. It's easy to go through. It's for whatever reason. But yeah, I think it's a great answer for sure. Next
Love
one
it.
we got for you is what's your favorite champion? And this can be
Oh
design
my
wise.
god.
This can be their character. This can be their team. The fight itself is a certain challenge. Whatever the criteria you want to stamp on that. What's your favorite champion?
Uh, I don't know if it's recency bias, but I really like Nimona. But I don't know if she counts because
Okay,
she's more of a rival.
we'll counter. We'll
Maybe
counter.
maybe Iris because I think her new design is sick. Her team is fucking
Yeah.
cracked. Her like her entire like battle arena and her theme is really good. Yeah, I'd probably say Iris. Some Black and White
I
too.
like it. I
From
think it's really cool. She's like in that dress, right? Like she's got like that
yeah,
really
big
cool
Yeah, she's
dress
cool
in
as
this.
hell.
Yeah, she's
It's
awesome.
also
And I
such a
and I
good
do.
surprise as well. It feels like such a good. It's like a very fun send off to like the end of the DS games.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, her
100%.
team is very. I'm just looking at Bulbapedia right now. Hydreigon, Druddigon, Archeops, Aggron, Lapras, and Haxorus.
Yeah.
And they slapped a Focus Sash on the Haxorus, so it can get a Dragon Dance off and try and
That's
make something
awesome.
happen. So that's cool. I think that's a good answer. I think Iris is really cool.
I love-
Sweet.
The next one we have for you is your favorite Pokemon that does not have an evolution.
So Spiritomb is my favorite Pokemon, but I do not think that thing needs an evolution. You do not need to give it one. I don't want to see that thing with like 150 plus BST firing off Will-O-Wisps from behind a giant wall with
Oh
like
man,
one
yeah,
weakness. I don't know if it
yep.
needs that, but yeah, Spiritomb is my favorite Pokemon. Not Mewtwo, which everybody seems to think is the case.
Right. That's awesome, dude.
That's cool.
Spiritomb getting some love. I love it. I don't know if we've heard people specifically. I love. I mean, Spiritomb's a really cool Pokemon. The
Mhm.
idea behind it, the lore behind it, and then yeah, I
It
don't know.
feels
As a
like
kid,
it feels like the one design that everybody loves, but they never like talk about, right? It's like
right,
Arcanine. I've
right.
never met
Yeah.
a person that hates Arcanine or Lapras or Spiritomb. Those are like three instant. Like everybody just loves these things.
The 100% approval rating all across. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think I've
exactly.
ever come across someone like that. Yeah, I think always as a kid, especially. I mean, especially before Fairy type came out in Gen 6. I'm
Mm.
like, goes dark. I mean, wow, that's like it's like the yeah, infamous kind of scary type. I'm like, like what do you even do with this thing? Like with the Sableye and the
Yeah.
Spiritomb. I'm like, I don't know what to do against this, but yeah, Spiritomb's super cool. I think when we've asked this question before, I think we've heard a lot of like Tropius, and this could be
Mhm.
like a pre-evolution or an evolution. But I'm sure there's a lot of Pokemon that don't have evolutions that could use one. They do a lot of those over the years, anyways. So
Yeah, they start to do cross-gen ones more now. So
yeah,
Mhm.
nice to
exactly.
see.
Yeah.
Next one we got for you is what is your favorite held item?
Oh, there are so many. Hold on, let me go to my website. There's,
No, you're good. You're
hold
good.
on.
I was just looking at that.
Yeah, there is. Oh no, I have a new website that I can't super talk about right now, but
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, a little
it's
teaser.
yeah, the exclusive scoop. It's just know it's gonna be the greatest thing you will ever see.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
there's so many like weird items. I really like the slates in BDSP. I have no idea why they're there. There's like no lore
Ooh.
behind them, but the
Okay.
fact that you can just get like a Pokemon Emerald cartridge in that game for some reason is really funny to me. So you know what? I'll say that.
There we go. There we go. I love it.
I love it. I love it. And our last rapid fire question for you is going to be: what is your favorite Pokemon type and why?
I don't think there is a single bad ghost type. Not one.
Oh, you're
Okay.
Yep.
Ghost type shout out again. I like it.
Not a single bad ghost type. I think all of them are so good, except
I
for
agree.
Shuppet. I don't know what. Oh no, hold on. Misdreavus sucks. Why that thing
Okay.
exists? That oh my god! Like if you dig into like the prototype stuff for Gen 2, the fact that it replaced like an actually really good ghost type really makes me upset. And then they
Right.
just like shove it in Mount Silver, and no character uses it, and it sucks. And it's yeah. So you know what? Maybe ghost types aren't perfect, but they are absolutely my favorite. So
There you go. But
I
for the
love it.
vast majority, do you have one from recent generations that's really stood out to you where you're like, hey, they killed it with that
uh,
specific design?
in regards to just ghost types,
Yeah, is there a ghost type from like the last 2 or 3 generations that you've really like been like,
I
yeah, that was a good one.
I really love Dragapult. It's absolutely
Yeah,
my favorite
Ooh.
mon from Gen 8. It's super good.
yeah, Dragapult. I think that's another Pokemon where I don't know if I've really heard a lot of people who are like, yeah, I think Dragapult sucks.
Yeah, I
Um,
think
Yeah.
they get some flack for being for being kind of weird, and also it's a Sword and Shield Pokemon, so people are going to just naturally gonna have this like
yeah, be
they're
predisposed to
gonna
not
hate it.
like it. Yeah, I heard some people say like for a pseudo that some people say that looks a little derpy, but I don't know. I think I mean, Dragon Ghost is just such a cool typing, and it's really really good competitively too. But I think that's a great one.
For sure.
Cool. Well, we to wrap our chat up, we do have a couple of shower thoughts as well. Again, these are kind of some fun. Um, we call them shower thoughts because they're the random things that will come to you when you're in the shower, driving to work, or you're at the gym doing some chores around the house. These are the
Mhm.
random thoughts that come to you and make you really do some deep meditation and philosophy esque thinking on Pokemon. So the first one I got for you, we kind of touched on this a little bit. Speaking of Pokemon that do not have an evolution currently, um, which Pokemon would you give a pre-evolution to or a new evolution to? Especially now that we've gotten a lot of cross-gen ones, like Legends Arceus gave us a ton, like Weirdeer,
Yeah.
Basque Legion, a lot of them. So whether it's for Legends ZA or for Gen 10, which Pokemon would you hone in on?
I think it'd be really funny to see how they would do a spin to evolution because that Pokemon does not work. Like you can't even
No.
transfer it through Pokemon
Oh
Home. It's like
man,
not functional. I would really love to see them
that's a
dig
great one.
themselves out of a hole with that one. It's just really funny to me. And
Yeah.
also, Spinda's weird because it doesn't have any sort of like niche in the games either. Like,
Yeah.
because a lot of people want to give evolutions to things for the sake of competitive. And while that's cool, that's not what Pokemon is always designed around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spinda is like contextually just like a really cool idea and like nothing more than that. So I would like to see that get something.
That's such.
Was it like isn't Spindle like it originally was like the only one that got like Teeter Dance or something like that? Or am I wrong on that? Because like I felt like that was like its
Maybe?
only niche was that one move.
I think
Or
early
something,
on,
but-
I want to say Gen 3, that was like its thing. I could be wrong. I'd have to look into that, but that sounds right.
Gen 3, you could breed it onto Cacnea, Lotad, Mr. Mime, and Oddish.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it was. I don't know. I don't know what they were doing with it, but yeah, it's just a very cool like visual gimmick, and I'd like to see how they would translate that to an evolution. Or maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they just make a generic rabbit evolution, and I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a great shout out. I love that. I think that's because like I actually really do think Spinda's a fun design. And it is like it was one of the first shinies that I'd ever seen, and so I was just
Same
like
here.
I so it's kind of close to my heart. I'd love to see it get a little love because I do think that like there could be more there. There's untapped potential.
No, for sure.
So
I
to
totally agree.
confirm, prior to Gen 5, Teeter Dance was its signature move.
Yeah,
Okay.
it could be bred onto Cacnea, but
Yeah, it could hit. Yeah,
the term signature move is like a weird Bulbapedia-ism that I do not
Yeah.
like. So
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
that's fair. That's fair. But
yeah.
no, you're right. Yeah, via breeding, you could get on some others. But no, that's one that's funny because, like Logan said, that's like the one outside of the small chance to get Skarmory. That's the one you could get on Route 113. So I remember when I was younger, because obviously every Spinda has different patterns on it, and I think I remember
Yeah.
encountering a shiny fairly early into that route. So I'm like, oh, these red ones look different. Oh, cool. Here's one with green spots. That's probably just like a different pattern on it, right?
Yeah,
And then after running into like 50 more Spinda and they're all red, I'm like, that one was probably special, wasn't it? Right? And then sure enough, never saw it again because old shiny odds are ludicrous. So, but that's awesome. Next one I got. Okay, Logan, I guess you got the next one, right?
Yep. I was just gonna ask you. So what is the most underrated legendary Pokemon and the most overrated legendary Pokemon in your opinion?
Oh, okay. Let me see. This has changed with time because okay, first of all, if anybody tries to tell you that Arceus is a mythical Pokemon, ignore them because he's not.
Oh yeah.
Mythical Pokemon are not real. They don't exist. Legendaries are the only categorization that matters. The most overrated legendary Pokemon for a while was Arceus because it was not implemented in an interesting way at all. I just did not care about it, and you would have to like force me to sit. You'd have to force me to watch an anime movie to care about it. I really don't want to do that. But Legends came out, and I kind of like it. Most overrated
Yeah.
legendary. I don't know. It's probably something from like does Zacian count? I think people hate that thing.
Yes.
But like everybody also has to use it, so I
Yeah.
don't know. Any legendary that is like purely designed for comp, like I really do not care about Calyrex or Urshifu at all. Most underrated is Azelf because it's really funny, especially competitively. I think that thing's signature move might as well be Explosion. With like
Oh,
focus
yeah.
attack. It's such a funny mon.
It's
like,
so
you
funny.
Send it in to set up Stealth Rocks and it kills itself, and it's like, well, I did my job, you know.
Yeah, like, see ya. Peace out.
Yeah, I love Azelf.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Azelf is really Jimothy Cool. He did a video on Gen 4 leads, or he talk about Stealth Rock. I think I can't remember the exact name of the video. I watched it recently, but it talks about like the importance of like Stealth Rock and Gen 4 competitive and stuff like that. And the big thing was one of the big ones was of course Azelf because it's fairly fast and then it can just explode
Yeah.
and peace out and get the rocks up
Yeah,
and run
for
away
sure.
or something like that. And yeah, Azelf's funny. I like Azelf. Love it.
Oh, that's great. I love those. Those are great options. So I just want to make sure. So underrated is Azelf, and then it's overrated is Zacian, right?
Zacian, Urshifu, I don't really like any of the Gen 8 legendaries besides like Reggie Alecki. And even then,
Regieleki's
that's
sick.
a little... I like how that thing moves. I think it's funny, but it's just like I don't know, like it's hard because all of the things that I don't like in Gen 8, I don't think other people like. So it's really hard to say.
I love
I
it.
like it. I like it. I also feel like I don't know. I felt like Reggie Drago was a letdown a little bit too. Like they I don't know. That was the one where they kind of announced it. And I thought it was really interesting at first, but it kind of was a letdown. At least not like competitively or even design wise. I feel like it could have been a little bit more interesting. But that was one that too I think was a little bit. I don't know if it's overrated, underrated. Technically, maybe it's just not rated at all.
No,
It's
for
just
sure.
rated.
But
It's just there.
it's just there. I love it. Well, we just want to thank you again, my friend, for joining us today. It's been incredible to talk to you and kind of get your ideas and get more insight into what you do and what your passion is about archiving, talking about game production, and just really making sure that the Pokemon community has the assets to be able to take the time machine back to the beginning and through the various generations of what Pokemon was, how it's influenced our lives and kind of changed us all. As we're kind of wrapping up here, we want to give you a little bit of some time here to be able to kind of tease anything that might be coming up for you. Also, at the end, if you want to give us some words of wisdom, that'd be awesome, and that can be Pokemon related, or that can just be life related in general. Yeah, and so the time's yours.
No, for sure. So I guess in terms of upcoming things, I have a new video coming out very soon. It's really funny.
Nice.
I did another podcast recently, and it's like, man, this is like 2 weeks later. No, it's fine. I really I'm really lagging behind with making videos because I hate recording. But yeah, so that's coming out. It's gonna be about the Ken Sugimori artwork between red and green, or red and blue
Ooh.
specifically.
Yeah.
And how we kind of got some scans on that, let's say, and why that was so divisive when we posted them initially, because I hate having to refer back to that and just be like, I wanted to have a big body of work to really dig into all of that. And also, I have a website coming up. It is going to solve everything. I mean that in like the most literal way. I can send it to you guys after the fact, after
Yeah.
we're done recording.
Ooh.
But it's yeah, it is going to be the new home for the archive. It is going to fix a lot of my issues with that, or a lot just of the issues with the archive. It's going to fix every issue with every Pokemon website. We're really doing it. We're making the ultimate Pokemon resource. That's all I can say for now.
Heck yes.
I love that.
And words of wisdom, I guess. So as somebody who gets a lot of undeserved shit on Twitter, I think it's undeserved. I have to deal with a lot of like weird people assigning beliefs when it comes to like video game opinions. And it sounds so bizarre to say this, but just treat people like you would want to be treated, okay? Even if it's across the internet, because when people are creators and they do a lot of stuff for free, it gets really, really, really rough when there are just like so many strange, like bad faith, ungrateful people. So yeah, I guess just treat people how you want to be treated. That's that's the one takeaway, I suppose.
Love it.
Golden rule. No, we agree with
Exactly.
that for sure. Love that.
I love it. And again, we just want to, say thanks again for popping on here, giving us a little bit of your time, and also sharing with us your passion. And we're excited for what the future holds for your channel and what you're teasing here. This is going to be really, really cool to see, and really, really cool to see what you continue to do and accomplish. Everyone out there, make sure you follow Lewtwo and make sure you follow what he's up to be able to kind of keep up with all things Pokemon Archival and all things Pokemon. And make sure you keep following us. Give everyone here a like and subscribe. We're going to be continuing our Elite Redux Pokemon Soul Link, and also continuing with these amazing interviews and also comeback interviews with our friends that we've also previously talked to. We're just kind of gonna keep up the fun conversation and connection in the Pokemon community. And with that, this is Logan, Josh, and Lewtwo signing off. We'll see you guys.
See you, everyone.
See ya.